What's going on, everybody? My name is Scary Spikes and welcome to another video. Now this is going to be a very different type of video than you guys are used to, but it is one that a lot of you guys have asked for. A lot of you guys are asking me ever since I made the Thrustmaster video to talk about peripherals, things like the CM3 throttle here from Virpil, or the Constellation Alpha, yes that's toilet paper, don't judge me, the Constellation Alpha stick, also from Virpil with the Warbird base. But we're not talking about this today. We're talking about something very interesting that kind of came out of nowhere. Before we get started with that though, if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, let me know, because a lot of you have been asking about it and I don't have an issue reviewing hardware stuff. Honestly, I'd be happy to start a whole nother channel so that we don't put a lot of this kind of content on here for people that are coming expecting just guides. But in any case, I digress. This is what we're going to be doing today. This is the VelocityOne Flight. It is an all-in-one flight system with a yoke and a throttle quadrant. And it's made for Xbox and Windows. And it's made by Turtle Beach, which is... Yes, I've got stickers of myself, I know, relax, settle down. It's made by Turtle Beach, which is very surprising, in that I've never heard of anything like this coming out from Turtle Beach before. Now, the rep that I was talking to said that these are getting extremely popular and selling out literally within hours, so I'm very fortunate to have received one, and in fact, not being a hardware reviewer, which is what I told him in an email back and forth, you know, I was very surprised, but also very delighted to be given a review copy of this. So, just so you guys know, before we get started with any of this, I'm going to give you guys my full, honest, unbiased opinion about what I think of this product, whether it's good, whether it's bad, and anything in between. If you have any questions that you want to find out about it before you pick up yours, feel free to ask me, but it is a sponsored video. Unfortunately, Turtle Beach is not going to be hearing my opinions before you guys are, and I'm not being paid or otherwise compensated except for just getting this review unit to check out to get my opinions out there. So just so you guys know, it's going to be unbiased, and I'm not going to be swayed by these wonderful things showing up my doorstep. So let's go ahead and unbox this, but before we do, of course, let's have a quick look over here. Now, what's interesting about this is, and I apologize about the freeform video again, you know, I'm not a professional YouTube hardware reviewer, and so I don't currently have a setup for producing live videos like this, so I'm just going to shoot this with my phone. But this is interesting. So I'm not 100% sure what the MSRP is going to be on this. They didn't tell me what it was. They did tell me it was selling out really quickly. Looks like you've got yourself a sort of main body here with a yoke attached, which is nice. You got some nice controls up here. A flight management display. That's interesting. We're going to be taking a look at that a little bit later on. And of course we have a throttle quadrant here. Now, what's kind of interesting is this seems to be a bit of a hybrid throttle quadrant. For those of you guys who maybe are not into space sims and you guys are also flying a lot of regular sims like MSFS and so on, and X-Plane and stuff like that, you guys will know that this is, you know, a normal throttle quadrant that you might be able to find on planes like the A380, the 747, and so on. Of course, you can also just use 2 instead of 4. You don't have to be limited to 4-engine aircraft. But what's cool is they also have the mixture knobs here. So if you're flying something smaller like a GA aircraft, like a Cessna 152 or 172, you should be happy with that as well. Also pretty cool, they got a trim wheel on here. They got a bunch of status lights back here as well. Just basing it on what I can see here. We'll obviously open this up and have a look at it. But looks pretty cool. Let's flip this thing around though and take a look at the back end of it, giggity. And then we're going to go ahead and plug it into that, and we'll fly around with it. And if you guys want to come by the stream, if you're a little curious about how it's going to actually, you know, relate to flying a ship, like for example the C2 Hercules, which I really want to fly with this thing because the C2 has one of these, so it's pretty awesome. And it's very unusual to use a yoke in a space sim, so very, very interesting. I'm really looking forward to checking it out. But let's flip this box over. I'll be with you guys in just a second. Okay, so having a look on the back side of this thing, giggity, we have some information over here on the left-hand side. Not a whole lot going on the leftmost side of it. We just got a nice Turtle Beach logo on that side, and on this end it's going to be a little harder for you guys to see, but this just talks about the FMD, which is the thing right in the middle here. That's the flight management display. Of course, we got a nice little outline of how everything looks. I do wish that this is detachable, but we'll find out later. And a little bit more information down here. 180 degrees of movement either way. That's really nice. Taxi and bank. No. So, yeah, they might need to change that. You bank with your yoke. You don't bank with your rudder. Rudder gives you lateral movement like this, which is called yaw. Banking is this, and then pitching is that. So you guys might just need to fix that little thing there, but that's okay. Just a small little gripe. We got the throttle quadrant there with the mixture knobbles on. Wait, knobbles? Knobbles. You know what? They're going to be called knobbles from now on. Turtle Beach, you can have that one. Okay, it's free. All right, and this is how we attach it. So that's pretty cool. We'll check this out a little bit later when it's actually attached to my desk. And then of course we have our status lights in here, which is kind of cool. And those are the ones that we can see back there as well. So I imagine if you have a number of different failures and things like that, you should be able to set those up to indicate those to you when they happen. All right, let's flip this over onto its front again this way. We'll open this up, put it back on the desk here, and we'll have a look and see what the look and feel is like. All right, I've already cut this open here, and just because, you know, one-handed operation, giggity. So we're gonna open this up here really quickly and have a quick look. And it seems to be very well packaged here. Looks like we have some environmentally friendly packaging as well, which is always nice to see from big companies like this. And yeah, I'm gonna have to use both hands to get it out. Oh, that's another giggity. There's gonna be lots of those here, okay? So get used to it. All right, give me a minute. Let me get this out, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this is all unpacked, and it looks like the very first thing that we see here, if I can look at it the right way, got a little envelope here. That just sounds like it's got maybe some documentation and hopefully some stickers. I swear to God, if there's stickers in there, I'm keeping the stickers. As you can tell, I kind of like stickers, okay? They're kind of a big deal for me. So if there's stickers in here, Turtle Beach, I'm sorry, but I'm keeping them. All right. Now, next, let's bring this thing up. Okay, all right. Anything in here? This feels kind of heavy. It feels like really heavy. I don't think there's anything else in here. It's just like super blocky. Yeah, there's nothing else in here. All right, let's go ahead and put this away. And by the way, before you guys freak out if I'm, you know, if it looks like I'm mishandling anything or whatever, don't worry. Tito is supervising me today, all right? So everything's going to be good. Now, let's have a look. Now, this is all really nicely wrapped up. This is interesting. What is this? Okay, looks like a little pamphlet in there. We'll have a look at that in a little bit later. Okay, now this is interesting. This looks like it could be maybe a panel for the warning lights. I could be wrong, but this also seems to be a bit of a flexible material, so that's definitely interesting. We'll put that to the side for now as well. And then, I don't know what this is either. This feels like it could be a bunch of labels or something like that. So that'd be kind of cool if you can just like make your own labels based on the warnings that you set up for yourself. That'd be pretty awesome. This is going to be the throttle quadrant right here. Okay, interesting. Looks like it feels like there's some detents in there, but that's going to be for later on. Can we actually open this up? Oh, okay, hold on a second. All right, this opens up all the way. Okay, this just comes out. Okay, so there's your throttle quadrant. We'll have a look at that in a hot minute. And then this, all right, that's just another piece, so that comes out. I hope this is not going to be too difficult to put back together because, again, Turtle Beach was nice enough to send this out, but it is a loaner unit. I can't keep it, unfortunately. I have a feeling that I'm going to want to, but oh my goodness. So far, this is a lot deeper. Now, I think this is all one unit here. Looks like that. There's a little bit of cardboard in between here, but this does look like one unit, and it looks really awesome. I just don't know how I'm going to be able to fit it in the little space that I have there. So it's going to be very challenging, but we'll try and figure out how to get that done. Now, this is obviously got the plastic on it. Let me see if I can bring this out with one hand very, very carefully. Okay. Ooh, okay, I can tell you guys right now, I'm feeling the rod from underneath. Oh my God, this video is going to be full of giggities. And it feels like it's metal in there. So that is a very, very good first impression. Just feeling around for like the triggers and the buttons and stuff like that. Obviously, this is just through the plastic, just to show you guys what to expect if you're picking this up on your own and what the unboxing experience will be like. But you know what? It's been pretty good. Everything is really nicely packaged. There's a lot of good packing material, so you shouldn't expect this thing to get damaged on the way to your place. And yeah, the next thing is going to be really just my first impressions and just testing it out. Plugging it into there, of course, we're going to need to, yeah, I know, man, stickers everywhere. We're going to plug it into the computer. We're going to try and figure out how to get this set up. I'm sure they got some software to go along with it, so we'll go ahead and check out the Turtle Beach website for that. And yeah, man, I can't wait to fly this thing. Ooh, okay, the buttons and everything feel crisp so far. Yeah, we gotta give it the old smell test. Hold on a second. Ooh, that passes the smell test and then some. Very well done, Turtle Beach. Let's see how it works. All right, hold up. I got a little ahead of myself there. There's a few other things left over. So we've got a little pack of knobbles in here. I'm just gonna call them knobbles from now on. Seriously, it's like the cutest, most adorable name, and they look like knobbles, so I'm going to call them knobbles. Okay, so you've got extra knobbles in here. I'm guessing, I don't know if there's knobbles that are pre-attached to it already, but these look like they could either be those and or replacements, which is always good to have. Now, you guys can hear that. That sounds like plastic, but hopefully it's good plastic. It'll go from there. And then this feels like it's going to be, if I don't drop it first, of course, this is going to be your cables. So I'm guessing that there's two of them here. This fat one kind of feels like it's going to be the main connection between the main unit, which was in here, and the PC. And then this one feels a little bit thinner, feels a little bit shorter as well. So this is probably going to be your connection between the throttle quadrant and the main unit. So we'll see what happens. But again, we'll post that when it's available. We'll see you guys over there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so I did a couple of days of flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator as well as Digital Combat Simulator, and I can tell you guys that this system works absolutely flawlessly in both of those games. But unfortunately, I know a lot of you guys are here from Star Citizen and you're wondering, hey, can I fly my C2 Hercules with this thing? The answer is unfortunately no, and that is sort of one of the biggest gripes that I have with this thing. It's definitely a really nicely built system. We'll talk about the specifics in just a little bit, but I just wanted to let you guys know right now. That way, I know a lot of you guys are not really flight sim fans per se. I know that's maybe something some of you might be doing in the background, but I know the majority of you are here for Star Citizen content, and you're wondering if this thing will work for Star Citizen. I haven't tried any crazy workarounds. There might be something down the road. There might be something that Turtle Beach may implement in order to make that work, but at the moment it's not something that works. Okay, so if you're wondering, should you get this for Star Citizen, the answer, unfortunately, at least right now, is no. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the system and my first impressions. We'll kind of zoom out for you guys a little bit here so you can get a better view. I think that's actually as far as I can go. So what do I think overall of the actual system? I think overall it's pretty good. It's decently built. I mean, you know, everything is plastic, but it feels solid. There's definitely some metal parts in here. Like, for example, the main stem of the yoke here is metal, and we got some of the stems. I know it's kind of hard to see because we're losing daylight here, but some of the stems of all of the stems of the throttle quadrant there do feel like they are metal as well, and everything else is plastic. So let's just go over this very quickly because we are losing sunlight very, very fast. The way that you're going to mount this, by the way, is going to be just to your desk. And of course, what you can do, you know what, we can actually turn on one of our lights, and that's going to give us a little bit more light here. You can mount this to the edge of your desk, which is kind of nice. There are two metal pieces, two metal hooks under here that will basically push up and sandwich your desk between the main unit and the actual the little hooks here. So, and the hooks are made or I guess you could say they're brackets, but the brackets will hook under the desk, and they are like an L-shaped bracket, and you can adjust them by simply removing the top here. All right, and you've got a nice included Allen wrench here, and then of course you've got your first and your second Allen wrench in there. This is all internal, which is really quite nice. None of this actually comes up. You just rotate lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, and you're all set up. Very, very easy. You've got magnets over here as well to hold this all in place thusly. Okay, so pretty easy there. Then let's actually go over the controls and everything like that. So right here you can see that you have a number. Let me see if I can zoom in on this. You have a number of different lights over here. So these are all different warning lights and stuff like that that you can set up for yourself. Now what's really cool about this is that these are actually replaceable. So if you have any nails, you may be able to actually stick your finger in here and without dropping it. Thankfully it's just on the top, but you guys can see that we have a number of different kinds of things on here that we can make the lights do. Other than that, these are just blank LEDs in there, but this is all a magnet. So it's really nicely designed. You can just stick it in there, and just like that, it stays on there, okay? What's really cool, and one thing that I didn't mention is, a little bit earlier, there are stickers in here, but the stickers, there are like 2 Turtle Beach stickers. I might take one, just because they're pretty cool stickers, and I love stickers, as you guys know, but I digress. There are stickers in here which have different types of labels, which say different things. So what you can do is you can then take the blank magnet over here, and you can put the stickers over top of the blank spaces and put that over top, and then you can completely customize your experience based on that. One of the other things I wanted to address before we continue with the first impressions here, my thoughts overall on the unit, is that you do also have these. These are not labels. The labels are actually in the documentation. These are little sticky gel pads that you can put underneath here if you don't want to use sort of the main system to secure this to a desk or something like that. So if you just want this to stay on a desk, you've got some little 4 little gel pads in here, which are a little sticky, and then you can put that on the bottom of the unit, stick it to a flat surface. Of course, don't do that if you happen to have a desk mat like I do, and Bob's your uncle and you're good to go, okay? So that's what I wanted to go over. And then of course this as well, this is a really nice little quick start guide that I called a brochure or pamphlet or something like that at the beginning of the video. What's cool about this is it gives you setup instructions, and there actually is software for this. You have to download the Turtle Beach Control Center from the Microsoft Store. The downside to that, though, is it just feels extremely bare bones. Now, you can also upgrade the firmware on here. As you can see, we do have a little screen down here, which gives you tons of different options. I'm not going to go over that right now because it's going to be a little too complicated just for a first impressions video like today. But hopefully, if they're able to send this out for like a full review down the line, or, you know, any of the other products that they might have, I'll be happy to do like a full review if I have more time with it. Unfortunately, the demand on these things is so ridiculous that they're not going to let me have it for a very long time. Thus, I'm not going to be able to do a detailed review. But that being said, you've got some information here about how to set everything up. And then you also have Microsoft Flight Simulator default controls on the back of this, and it's a poster. So you can hang this up and stuff like that, and it has all the information. Of course, you can change everything that you want, but it does come with the default controls, which is nice to have. Okay, let's very quickly talk about my first impressions of the unit after flying it around. Of course, I tried to fly it in Star Citizen. It did not work, so I resorted to Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is essentially what this thing's been designed to fly with. And of course, I also tried Digital Combat Simulator. I know a lot of you guys in our community also fly DCS, and if you're wondering, does this yoke work for an F/A-18C Hornet? And the answer is yes, it does, and it's fully customizable. It's plug and play with DCS as it is with Microsoft Flight Sim, so you'll have no problems there. Okay, so the buttons, you guys already saw how to mount it. You guys already saw the little doohickey there with the customizable alerts, which is nice. Let's go ahead and take a look at the actual yoke itself. The movement is pretty good. Okay, you guys can hear that? All right, the movement's pretty good. It's very smooth when you're being a little bit liberal or aggressive with it. And even if you're just, you know, moving it around just a little bit, still kind of aggressively, but not very precise movements, it's still pretty good. The part of it that I kind of don't like, though, is when you're trying to make very tiny little inputs, once you've got tension on it, it does tend to kind of jump around, as you guys can see. So I'm trying to move it very, very, very slowly, which is something you can do with one finger on the bank axes, and that is very, very, very smooth. You see that we don't really have any jumps. It's just generally a straight movement. You do tend to get a couple little jumps like that, as you can see there, once you get to the edge, but I mean, obviously you're not going to be flying your Cessna like this, right? So that's not a big deal. One thing that I do maybe want to see is, once you've got this thing tensioned, either in a nose down attitude or a nose up attitude, that the movements that you want to make, if you want to make some smaller, more precise movements, that they would be a little bit easier without the yoke jumping around a little bit. Now, I know that can be a little difficult to do, but maybe all it's going to take is just throwing a little bit of lube in the system or something like that, and then, you'll be fine. But again, just a very small gripe. Now, let's go over the controls. The controls are universal from left to right hand, and they're very simple. You've got a little four-way hat down here. As you can see, we've got a little bit of a directional arrow to assist us here. So you've got down, up, left, and right. You've got a 8-way hat up here surrounded by a nice little LED ring. So there you go. And then you've also got a button. So this could be your AP disengage. It could be your AC, or rather your ATC rather, I apologize. So you can bind that to whatever you want, and then of course you've got exactly the same on the other side. And again, I have another gripe here, and that is that they do feel nice. You know, the button feels pretty good. I would say that the hats are definitely a lot more crisp. The button feels slightly more mushy, but there is still a pretty satisfying click in there, so I think it's just me being OCD about stuff. But honestly, they feel great. The only thing that I wish that they would add, at the very least, for the 8-way hat, is a push in, which is something that we don't have, okay? Then when we look on the other side here, we can see that we do have the left trigger here, which is an analog trigger, and we have a left bumper. On the other end here, we also do have a right trigger and a right bumper. Now, these are actually really nice. I love the way they feel. The plastic is glossy, but it doesn't ever feel slippery. It just feels nice. There's enough resistance in the trigger that it feels, you know, substantial. It doesn't feel like a toy, which is great. What would be really the next level is to see if we can figure out a way to bring this down just a little bit, because I feel like the buttons are a little too high. So if I can show you, I mean, I've got pretty big hands, giggity, all right, and if I'm putting my hand firmly on the throttle, or rather on the yoke, I've got a pretty good reach here. I mean, my finger can go all the way around the trigger and then some, so I've got a good reach of the trigger. The problem comes in when I want to transition from the trigger up to the button, and suddenly my hand has to make this just uncomfortable, you know, like I have to go from this to that. And, you know, when you're flying around in a little Cessna, probably not going to be a big deal. If you're flying an A320neo or something else that, you know, you need to be a lot more attentive with, then this is going to make a difference, because you're going to be focusing on how to make your hand comfortable, and probably end up flying into a tree like I almost did on the previous iteration of this video, which I deleted because nobody wants to see how I fly. But that being said, it would be nice if they maybe lowered this just a little bit. The part where the trigger is honestly lovely. It's just in the right place, but I feel like the buttons are just a little high, and you know, I'm able to kind of stretch despite the fact that it's uncomfortable for me. Okay, but people with smaller hands are really not going to be able to do that without completely changing the way that they're gripping. Like, so this is, you know, the trigger, and then that is the button. So you have to substantially change the way that you grip the yoke in order to be able to comfortably hold on to that. Same goes on the other side. So that's just a little gripe there. But again, it's just a small gripe. It's not a big deal. Hopefully that's something that will come in future iterations. Now, before we leave the yoke, we do also have this nice little screen. It's a little blurry. I apologize. I'm not going to get into the full nature of it. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit here for y'all so you guys can see that a little bit. There we go. Okay. Nice little LCD panel. This looks like maybe about an inch and a half or something like that. But you've got an up arrow, a down arrow, and I know it's hard to see here, but you also have a menu button and a back button over here as well. So if you want to get into your menus, you can do that. You've got a number of different things there, including you're able to select your input mode as well, which I have to say, this is definitely something really weird, but as you can see, this does have an Xbox button on it, and that's because it is made for Xbox and Windows. But the weird thing is, when I have this thing in Windows mode, the Xbox button does not work. When I have it in Xbox mode, the Xbox window does come up. Sorry, it's a little blurry over there. The Xbox, sort of the game bar, Windows game bar, comes up with the press of the Xbox button. So that's definitely something I'm going to make them aware of, but I wanted to make you guys aware of that as well. Let's see if we can go ahead and focus on this a little bit more. So we'll go back, okay, and can we get some focus? I mean, let's see if we can get some focus. There we go. Okay. You also have a profile here, so I haven't messed around with this too much, but I'm sure you'll be able to move around and change different profiles here. You have single engine and dual engine, of course, as well as your default, which I'm sure, again, you can change. And then you have a number of different options here. Again, we're not going to go through all this because this is just a first impressions video, but you know, you do have a good amount of settings in there that you can mess around with. Now, one of the things that I wanted to mention is when you do hook this thing up, you do have to get the software to make sure that the firmware is up to date, which you put that little screen into firmware update mode, and then the control center, Turtle Beach Control Center, tries to look for updated firmware. My only gripe with the control center is that it feels extremely bare bones. There was no way to actually customize any of the buttons or you know, do macros with them or anything like that. It was just for updating the firmware. Again, this is a pre-release model, so I'm not sure if that's something that they're continuing to work on, if that's going to be, you know, a release down the road, but in any case, that is that. So that's going to cover the yoke. Generally speaking, I really like it. It is a bit long back here, but hey, you know what? That's okay. You know, it's a full-size yoke, and it feels really nice. And if I were to compare it to the Logitech and the CH Products versions, honestly, guys, it feels really nice. It feels substantial, and having a little screen in there with some extra features, even though some of them, you know, might feel a little gimmicky and stuff, but they're generally very useful. You have a chronometer, and you also have profiles and all of the LEDs and stuff you can change right there without going into the software. So that is really, really nice. Okay. Let's move on to the throttle quadrant real quick here. And one of the things that I want to show you guys, and let me actually see if I can turn on one of the other lights here so you guys can see a little bit more. We'll get one of the other studio lights turned on here for y'all. There we go. That'll give a little bit more light so you guys can actually see what's going on here. So let's take a very quick look at the Quadrant, and honestly, the Quadrant is overall very good. You do have your GA throttle and mixture controls and stuff like that over here, which is quite nice. They don't come out too far, but they are substantial. They've got a solid stop. They don't feel like they're going to break with repeated use. And of course the knobules, or whatever I called them, the knobbles, now they're knobules. We're making new words every time we change scenes here, but in any case, these are all replaceable, which is nice. You've got some buttons down here which you can customize, which are also nice. Little gripe with that, we'll get to that in a second. Of course, we've got idle detents for all 4 of the throttles here, and you also have detents for the reverse. So get a little closer look here. There's your idle. There's your reverse. Okay, so that's really nice. I like to see that. One of the things you might kind of have a hard time seeing this here. See if I can zoom in for you a little bit. But there's a wheel over here, and this is to set your aircraft trim. So if you're up and around and flying and stuff like that, this will work in DCS as well as Flight Simulator. Unfortunately, not in Star Citizen, as the whole system just doesn't work in Star Citizen. But this is going to adjust your aircraft's trim, either nose up or nose down. So if you're trying to make sure that you have level flight, you can just use the trim wheel here, and make sure that you've got your throttle set and everything else is good, wings level, and then you do your little trim, and you can get yourself flying nice and level. So what I like about the trim wheel is it's very well textured, so you can move it around just with a single finger if you want to. I would like to have seen it being a little bit bigger so you can kind of grab it and manhandle it, but in the context of how everything's built, I really can't complain. One of the things that is really cool too is that this doesn't just like freely move around like I'm just trying to spin it here, and it does have some good resistance, so that I really like. One of the other things that I really like, and I'm not sure if you guys are able to see this, see if I can zoom in a little bit for y'all. You see you got the 2 cables in there. Now you've got a red cable, which is this one here, and then you've got a blue cable, which is this one here. So the red cable actually goes out and connects to the PC, and the blue cable goes out and connects to the front of the throttle quadrant. And what that means is a lot less mess on your desk with respect to cables, and you can detach this thing, which how cool is that, right? So if you want to, you can clip this thing into the main system here, so the main yoke system, or if you want, you can attach this elsewhere as long as the cable is going to be long enough. But of course, I like to just see if I can get it in there. There we go. You just got a little bit of a click, and then you're good to go. Okay, so that I like the fact that it's detachable. I like the fact that you've got your detents, your GA stuff is built in here, and it's not assumed, unlike the Logitech product, that you're just going to be flying GA the whole time. This is obviously something that you can use in 2-engine mode. It's obviously something you can use in a 747-8, A380, anything else with 4 engines. Go nuts, okay? One of the things that I don't like about this, though, despite the fact that the stems over here are made with metal, or at least they feel like metal because they feel very solid, is these things are made of cheap plastic, and yeah, they're replaceable as far as I can tell. I mean, they feel like you can take them off and put them back on. I haven't tried it because I don't want to break anything, but even if they're not replaceable, I mean, they just feel very cheap. They feel kind of plasticky, and then don't get me wrong, the comfort is nice. The comfort is definitely really nice. I've got a larger hand as well, and you can see how that kind of just sits between my fat knuckles over there. So it definitely feels really nice, and it does have a good size to it, so it doesn't feel like a little toy or anything. But that's what I got a problem with. That's my main issue there is, you know, you can nudge this with your hand and it's just going to do that. So what I would like to see maybe in future iterations of this product is if on the right hand side, since there's nothing here, if we can have like a little Allen screw, maybe something like this, so we can use that Allen key and everything is all in one to adjust the tension on this, right? Because this is just, you know what I mean? So that is the only gripe that I have with that. Aside from, there's one little other gripe that I have, and of course that is that these don't go forward enough and they go too far back. Now obviously when you're sitting on the ground, you're not going to be in full reverser getting out the gate, right? There's obviously other ways to do that. But if you have your engines at idle, that's making the space for the buttons down here really tough. Now again, I'm somebody with a bit of a larger hand, so you know I can kind of stick my finger in there and poke at it and stuff, but I can't see any of it, right? And with the angle that it's pointing up, it's easy to see, but only when this stuff is out of the way. Other than that, it's not really that easy to see. So it would be nice if we can maybe extend this from here to maybe like here, right? So not only do we have a greater range of motion, where we can more finely adjust the throttle on the aircraft that we're flying, but we can also start this a little bit later, like we can start it here, so that we can have the throttles there, which makes the buttons at least still legible and somewhat accessible, right? Without bumping into my knuckles. So there's clearance as opposed to there. So that's going to be it, guys. That's basically my first impressions. Now, before we go, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of a recommendation as to whether, you know, this is something that I would purchase myself, because of course this is a loaner unit. First of all, I'm grateful to Turtle Beach for reaching out and sending this to me. It was honestly a really awesome experience, to the point where like I actually want to start a whole new channel and just do reviews like this, because I love talking about tech and I love testing stuff out and getting my hands on some new products and letting everybody know whether it's good or not, and you know, of course, providing my thoughts as well. But that being said, a huge thanks to Turtle Beach for sending this out for review, despite the fact that, you know, I told them that I'm not really a hardware reviewer, that I just do guides for Star Citizen and stuff like that. But they were nice enough to send it out to me anyway, so big props to them. Thank you so much, guys, and I appreciate it very, very much. Now, the verdict on this thing, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. Okay, and the reason for this is because you have a full-size yoke, which is really nice. It feels pretty good. The materials are plastic, but they feel like good quality plastic, and it doesn't feel like, if you're going to be a little aggressive with this, that it's just going to, you know, fall apart. There are a few things that I wanted to change, obviously. There's, you know, of course, I wanted to see if I can maybe, you know, change the controls up here to make it a bit more ergonomic, and then, of course, all the stuff that I talked about with respect to the throttle quadrant. But there's a lot of good design choices in here, starting with the way that it mounts, to the way that it connects, and, of course, the modularity with the lights and everything in here. It's just, you know, pretty well thought out. So comparing the stuff to, like, you know, Logitech's products and CH products, it's hard to say because I've never tried either of those, but I can tell you that this definitely feels a lot more full-featured than the Logitech product. But the Logitech product is about $180 to $200 cheaper. Okay, as far as I know, the MSRP on this, according to the website the last time I checked, was about $379. So that being said, it's a very, very hard recommendation to make for space simmers, because first of all, it's not something that we expect to use as space simmers. We, you know, generally speaking, we're using a joystick and a throttle such as that, but it's certainly possible. And then if we were able to get this thing working in Star Citizen, I haven't tested it yet in Elite Dangerous, and if you guys have had a chance, please reach out to me and let me know. But for space simmers, it would be a hard sell, honestly. But if you also fly Microsoft Flight Simulator, or DCS, by the way, Digital Combat Simulator, which is free. I don't know if you guys knew that. But if you guys fly either of those full-time, or even just on the side outside of Star Citizen, when you get too many 30Ks, you're like, F it, I'm jumping into that game. Then, you know what I mean? You're going to be pretty happy with this system, and I think you're going to be happy with the amount of money that you spent for it. So that being said, again, 8 out of 10 for space simmers, just in a vacuum, excuse the pun. I wouldn't really recommend this for that, okay? But if you are a space simmer and you want something for your flight as well, if you're doing MSFS or, of course, DCS as well, definitely a worthwhile investment. It feels nice. And of course, I just hope that down the road, we're going to see some better software and maybe a few changes to the hardware, like a little hardware revision or something. But other than that, honestly, it's a very good system, and I really enjoyed my time with it. So please, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. If you'd like to see more of these kinds of videos, I'm not going to be plugging this channel with them, just because this channel is not about that. This was just a video of opportunity, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. But if you do enjoy this kind of stuff, and a lot of you guys have been asking me ever since I put out that Thrustmaster video, you know, hey, can you do a review on this? Can you talk about this? Can you do a setup video on that? You know, it's definitely something I'd be willing to do with enough interest, but I think I'd like to do it on a separate channel so that we keep the guides here and the reviews there, if you guys know what I mean. Okay, so drop me a like if you like to, subscribe if you're new around here, ring the bell so that you never miss a video in the future, and show some love to Turtle Beach, because they're pretty interesting product here, and they're very nice to send this out to me again. Thank you to them, and we'll see you guys in the next video.